I have a quick question. Will building for Windows be akin to building for iOS or Android, or will it be more like the Windows Phone where it's going to be Corona Cards based and it'll be packaged inside of a Visual Basic?
Well, so there's no question that the support we have for desktop won't. Our initial, what we put out there initially, will be just a subset of what you have for Corona SDK. I think our goal is to sort of say let's follow in the path of Corona Cards from the perspective of limiting the feature set. And we do think that in certain cases it will make sense for lots of developers to be able to have to use Xcode or Visual Studio so they can add additional functionality that we just don't provide. Whether or not there will be a sort of a easy one-click button path from the simulator to just do a quick build of an app that may or may not, that will just have plain vanilla functionality, that's something that we could consider. But I do think that a lot of people will want to have sort of custom this or that they need to add inevitably just because it's a desktop application. So part of that may be a little bit unavoidable. Things like menuing and things like that are not things that we would be able to wrap up cleanly in a Lua API. If you want to add new menu items, things like that, you're inevitably going to have to deal with the native files, native resource files for that platform just to deal with that kind of stuff. And
sure.
So from that perspective, we are going to package it, though we want to make it as easy as possible. So, for example, we're working on things like saying, hey, if we have to use Xcode, let's at least create a new project. Let's extend the new project template. So if you go to Xcode and say new project, you'll see a Corona Mac app project that you can create, and it'll create a project for you. It'll create a Corona folder that you can add your Lua files into, and so you can still target Corona Simulator to run those files, so you can preview really quickly in that Corona style workflow. But then you still have the Xcode project for all these weird sort of like entitlements and all these weird things that you need to do that Apple really requires on IO or on the Xcode Mac side of things.
Will targeting desktop OSs be an SDK level feature, or will that most likely get bundled into like an enterprise or Corona Cards type of thing, or maybe its own feature?
That's sort of a little bit of debate. I think I'm on my side, and then there are people on the business side, because we have a parent company now.
Those pesky people.
I am no longer the master of the fate of things. Just to make that clear, my opinion counts, but it's not the ultimate thing that counts. I'll just tell you what my personal preference is, that we should just make it available for free, because I think the more people that use it, it's a great way for other people to be introduced to the Corona platform, because they focus exclusively on desktop apps and gets them into mobile. It's a great way for you guys who are doing mobile apps to go onto desktop side of things. But my personal preference is to make it free, but I can't make a promise if that's what you're looking for.
I heard free. That's all I heard.
You heard it here, people on the forums. Walter said it would be free.
We'll cut that part out of the video.
I'm going to repeat this for the next minute, just so it can't be edited out. That I'm going to interject
Too late.
conversation that I did not promise anything about free.
We're going to make a Vine out of it.
Headroom video of you saying free.
I won't be surprised if I'm unable to build on my account later today.
By the way, did I just mention that I did not promise that this would be free?
One question that you may not be able to answer, but currently, very few people do this, but I use the simulator sort of like a poor man's desktop while I'm working.
Yeah.
And on the if you run the Android simulator,
yeah,
or you're running on OS X in any simulator, you can get the keyboard. So I use keyboard inputs for a lot of my shortcuts while I'm editing my levels and stuff like that. I make my own little mini editors. We kind of had this discussion a long time ago.
Okay.
My question is will the key inputs work for the Windows and OS X?
I believe so. I think they would have to.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. That and probably like joystick support.
Yeah, it'd be odd if they didn't work.
Yeah. Okay.
Well. Though that statement may contain forward-looking statements that may or may not reflect actual reality.
We've gotten you into the disclaimer mode. Disclaimer mode off.
This hangout may or may not contain forward-looking statements that may or may not reflect actual or intended reality.